This is Scotty Reed with a Black Talk Radio News commentary. On this segment, I want to revisit my last video concerning Colin Kaepernick, his tweet about slave catchers and cops, which he is absolutely correct, historically correct, not to mention that it is very accurate description of what we see today. A lot of people call it mass incarceration. I know it as slavery as prescribed by the 13th Amendment, which has an exception clause as punishment for crime. And just knowing that whole history, Colin Kaepernick was historically correct to compare police to their ancestors going all the way back to the 1600s and the first creation of police departments in the colonies, which is now turned into states, part of the United States of America. And I started to notice that there is a effort or a media collaboration, conspiracy, whichever word you choose to use, a media collaboration or conspiracy to further demonize Colin Kaepernick because he refuses to give up his activism against police and violence committed against American citizens every 24 hours, sometimes several a day. And they're putting out this false narrative that Colin Kaepernick has to make a choice. He has to choose either playing in the NFL or choose his activism and standing up against racial injustice and injustice in general, and pointing out the parts of this country, particularly government, that is not working for all people, when we have these outcomes that clearly are acts of injustice, as we saw in the Philando Castile case. So now, we have this seems to be concerted effort. There's a story I saw on Yahoo Sports where it was in the headline, it was saying that Colin Kaepernick had to choose between the NFL and activism. Then there was, I heard Ray Lewis said the same thing, but he was on this sports cable television show, Speak for Yourself, except for unless your name is Colin Kaepernick. You can't speak and do a job at the same time. You can't play in the NFL and engage in activism at the same time. And so you got people like Eric Davis was on that show talking about Colin Kaepernick went too far, he went in too deep. Look, I agree that he went in deep. And that's the problem. The problem isn't that he went in deep. The problem is most people do not want to delve deep into these issues, and they just want to scratch the surface and move on. We see these headlines of American citizens being gunned down by slave catchers out there, and that's sad, that's so sad, or we victim blame, we blame the victim. And in this case, I've yet to hear anybody come up with any kind of logical victim blaming of Philando Castile, who Colin Kaepernick tweeted about that jury outcome that let that man's killer go free, that cop. So this is what I got to say to the Ray Lewises. I mean, Ray Lewis has the Ray Lewis Foundation, where he's supposed to be helping young men, disadvantaged young men. I pulled it up on the internet, saw him at a lot of events with a lot of young black men. And, does he not think that that's an area of their life that they need help in, is when their fathers, their uncles, their older brothers, themselves are being gunned down like Tamir Rice in the streets of America? Ray Lewis doesn't have a solution. Eric Davis doesn't have a solution. These sports writers don't have a solution. And it's okay if you don't have a solution, but then when someone's out there working to find a solution and you want to chirp in from the side with these straw man arguments and these false equivalencies and saying that Colin Kaepernick must choose, he can't be an activist for very important issues, human rights issues, and an NFL quarterback at the same time. But yet we see plenty of activists, and I'm very grateful. I don't think NFL players, professional sports players, period, get enough credit for the activism that they do in the community. But it seems to me that wider society, the plantation, only wants you to get involved in certain types of activism that we brand acceptable, non-controversial. Yeah, it's cool to go feed the homeless, but it's not cool for you to speak out when police kill homeless people. No, you can't say nothing about that. But you can feed them. You can go have, you know, little events where you're feeding them on Thanksgiving. And yeah, we appreciate that kind of activism. But if they're being railroaded into 21st century slavery and human trafficking because of laws against vagrancy and the further criminalization of the poor, oh, Colin Kaepernick, you can't speak out on that. What a hypocritical society that we live in, that we're telling this man that he can't walk and chew bubble gum at the same time, that he can't play in the NFL and be an activist, except for only on certain issues. See, they're not being truthful. They're not being honest with you, because these are immoral people and cowards who are afraid to speak truth to power on very important issues. All right, this has been Scotty Reed with a Black Talk Radio News Commentary. You can find more of my commentary along with other independent black media producers at blacktalkradionetwork.com. We have a social media community. If you want to support the production of independent black media, you can join our social media community, btrcommunity.com, for just $24 a year. That breaks down to less than 50 cents a week, or exactly down to 50 cents a week. YouTube, follow us on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. That way you'll know whenever new videos are being posted. Follow us on Facebook at Black Talk Radio Network and on Twitter at Black Talk Radio. Support independent media. Make a donation today to Black Talk Media Project. Peace.